The she-wolf brought the wolf cub to this man. The reason will shock you. What can happen to a wild animal in the forest? After all, this is its home. Many people think this way. In fact, many dangers await any wild animal in the forest. The cubs of any, even the largest and strongest predators, are poorly protected before the elements or other predators. Before its first hunt, any predator depends on its mother and will die if something happens to her. But the most important danger to any animal in the forest is man. Yes, it is man who decided that he is the king of nature. Man walks through the forest, afraid looking back, but he walks. He has a gun and he can kill. Man sets traps and catches animals. Man takes baby animals for him for fun. Man brings piles of garbage into the forest and pollutes the environment, poisoning the animals with toxic waste. So what can happen to a wild animal in the forest? Anything. Once, such an unforeseen situation had to be observed by Boris. He, an avid mushroom hunter, walked carefully in the forest, trying not to break bushes. He didn't throw garbage, even wrappers he took with him. Whenever possible, Boris took a sack into the forest and collected the garbage left by people. The villagers laughed at him, but he paid no attention. And so, as usual, Boris was walking through the forest with a basket for mushrooms and a bag for garbage. He saw something hanging from the tree. At first, he thought it was a backpack. When he got closer, he saw that it was a net and there were wolves in it. Someone had set a trap to catch the animal. A few wolves were caught. They were moving and still alive. Boris tried to untie the rope, but he couldn't. It was all tangled and tangled. He didn't have a knife or any other sharp object with him. The lizards whimpered and tried to get out, but it was almost impossible. The lizards opened their mouths and breathed heavily. Boris tried to lift the net so that they could at least change their position and breath, but it didn't help. Boris had no choice but to go home to get a knife. After walking almost halfway home, the man remembered that he had seen broken glass at a dump set up by some scoundrels. Turning there, Boris did indeed find shards. Armed with one of them, the man walked back. He was surprised to see the she-wolf sitting next to the net. She was looking at her cubs and whimpering as if talking to them. When she saw Boris, she showed her teeth and growled softly. He stopped and slowly put his basket on the ground. The she-wolf stared at him, but he didn't dare to attack. It seemed to be studying the man, trying to figure out what to expect from him. Boris moved slowly, cautiously approaching the net. If he cut the rope where it was attached to the tree, the wolves would probably fall to the ground and hurt themselves. So Boris decided to cut the trap and carefully take the wolves out. The she-wolf hardly understood Boris's plan, but she clearly sensed that he would do no harm. Stepping back a few steps, she led the man through to the net, watching his every move carefully. Boris took out the glass and began sewing the rope that made up the net. It wasn't easy to do it, and it was necessary not to hurt the little ones. And then, good luck. There was a hole in the trap. He took out the first wolf cub and sent it to its mother. Another one followed. There were 5 wolves. The last little one, who was at the bottom, suffered the most. He could barely stand on his feet and could not walk. He was breathing hard and coughing. Apparently, the other wolf cubs had been lying on him for a long time and had crushed him. The she-wolf sniffed at the 4 cubs, gave the 5th one a sad look and retreated into the thicket with the others. The remaining cub tried to follow its mother, but immediately fell down and whimpered pitifully. The head of a she-wolf immediately appeared from the forest. She came up, licked his nose, and nudged him with her muzzle, but it didn't help. The little one could not follow her. Then the she-wolf looked at her child, raised her head and howled, then looked Boris straight in the eyes and left. She said goodbye to her cub, opting for the healthy majority. It's natural selection. It's nature. Perhaps that's what the she-wolf thought. But not Boris. The man put the cub in a basket and quickly walked home. In the village, the man caught a car and drove into town to the vet. Fortunately, it was indeed done, almost at the last moment. A little more, and the little one could have died. The wolf cub had suffered lung damage. From the strong and prolonged squeezing, fluid began to accumulate in them, which led to inflammation of the lungs. The cub was prescribed antibiotics, vitamins, and sent home to Boris. The man put the wolf cub in a room. The long process of treatment began. One day, passing by the store, Boris saw one of his fellow villagers, Dmitry, holding the very net from which he had fed the wolf's cub. Dmitry was showing everyone the ruined trap and cursing the one who had done it. "I wish I could catch the one who did it," the man repeated. Boris was not characterized by courage and fighting character. To be honest, because of love of nature, he was considered a tabby man. "I did," said Boris and hit Dmitry to the nose with all his might. From the surprise he fell and remained lying on his back. No one expected Boris to be so quick. He turned around and went to his house. Some of the villagers condemned Boris. A man wanted to make money, and he had deprived Dmitry of his earnings and ruined the trap. But mostly everyone was on Boris's side. Dmitry was an inveterate poacher, and at last someone was giving him what he deserved. No one could have imagined that a disgraced poacher would hold a grudge. The wolf cub that Boris had cured grew up to become a full-grown wolf, huge for its size. It was as gentle and good-natured as a dog. Perhaps the mother wolf, when she said goodbye to her son in the forest, felt that she and Boris were simply made for each other. Boris named the pet Lobo, which means wolf in Spanish. Boris had studied Spanish at school. Lobo accompanied his master everywhere and obeyed him almost without question. Only when he got into the forest, it was as if he remembered where he came from and ran around the neighborhood for a long time, sometimes returning home after his master, looking guilty into his eyes. That day Lobo, as usual, was running around somewhere. Boris turned home alone. Bringing a heavy basket of mushrooms, he began to peel them. Engrossed in the preparation, Boris didn't notice how dark it became outside. Lobo had not returned. After waiting a little longer and shouting in the vegetable garden, Boris went to bed. In the night he woke up feeling short of breath. Boris dreamed that he was walking in some fog and calling his four-legged friend by name. There was indeed a very acrid smoke around, as if the dream had turned into reality. Boris fell from the bed to the floor. Only there was a small strip of air without smoke, but the smell was everywhere. That's when Boris realized that his house was on fire. How on earth could this have happened? He had turned everything off after cooking mushrooms. Then he heard a sound of breaking glass. The oxygen in the house was causing the fire to grow even stronger. At that moment, Boris lost consciousness. When he came to his senses, firefighters were already pouring the remains of his house. Signals of the ambulance, which was apparently on its way to him, could be heard throughout the village. Locals were crowding the vegetable garden. "What happened?" Boris asked confusedly. "Arson," someone in the crowd echoed. "How did they get me out?" Boris asked. "Your savers are over there." The fireman waved his hand. Boris turned around and stunned with surprise. Behind him lay Lobo and 5 other wolves, 4 brothers and a mother wolf. 6 and dragging when we arrived. "Well done, your dogs," the fireman said. "Mine, but they are wolves, not dogs," Boris said proudly. The investigation established that Boris's house had not caught fire by itself, but had been set on fire. It was done by Dmitry, who was arrested. Dear viewers, if you like the video, then give us a like and subscribe to our channel. See you later.